stuff I gotta take care of. And if my camera at least can hold it, I have nothing to say anytime.
You need to get a copy of
Yes. I have stuff. I have business to run.
You'll wait all night again, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Is it one of the raspberry?
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't know.
He's such a good baby. Right now. Well, you know, a lot of people, but in the morning, then let's talk. A lot of people.
He's not hungry, it's everything.
Yeah, but a lot of them would.
Well, I don't handle the random people.
Well, I am to me.
If he doesn't, you're good, you're good. So that's what I said. See if she vouches for you.
Hey, after the 911 stuff,
I guess I had
we
six.
do, more status report.
Just seems like
Right after
yesterday.
that, and then you can leave that to him.
Except that if it starts buzzing,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
We got great kids.
Yeah.
Just a pitchy little guy. Just a pitchy little guy.
He's so good with all the babies.
I don't know, it's crazy. Yeah.
tickle his thigh, then he'll really start riding. I knew how to get started.
I got laughed like crazy.
You're no pro at it.
Yeah, I know, sorry about it.
No, that had nothing to do with you.
I'm gonna have to go to some. She's a real bag.
Wait, you know it.
Yeah.
Isn't it both speakers?
Yeah.
Friday at 7 o'clock. At this time, I'd like to call the Village of Midlothian Committee meeting for April 20th, 2016 to order. Roll call.
Trustee Gillis. Here. Trustee Ivan.
Here.
Trustee Colby. Here. Trustee Price.
Here.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Moskowitz.
Here.
Mayor Ryback.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I will open up the floor to public comment. If you'd like to address the board, now would be the time to do so. George?
George Gilman, 47 Midlothian. It's more of a request that I have for the VFW. We have that trailer parked in front of the VFW, that big ABF trailer. What we'd like to know is if we can move it over next to the firehouse trailer, I'll move it over there. If that would be acceptable to the village and the fire.
Do you see that being available?
Not for us.
I just have a question. How much longer are you gonna have?
We're trying to get rid of it as soon as we can. What we have left in is our construction materials that we use. We have to take some of it out, store it inside the building, and then we're getting rid of all the other stuff that's in there to whoever wants it, and then maybe have to come and haul it out.
Okay, but you.
So we're in the middle of switching
Okay.
our leadership and everything with the VFW right now.
So do you have it in 1 month, 2 months?
I would hope within the next month.
Okay,
By
Just
the
so
end-
we have
by-
some
by the end of May.
okay. Just so we have some idea that it's not gonna be there for 6 months or a
Or
year.
a year, or whatever, like we got.
When you-
Yes, I understand.
Could we just ask if they come in, whoever, when they're ready to hook it up and put it back there, come in and see us or whatever?
Sure, we
And
can,
we'll
yeah.
have somebody go out there just so we can get it tight to the trailer.
Yeah, I'll find out, yeah.
I know that, you know, just so we can go out there and look or whatever, as long as it's only gonna be a month or so. All right, with the board, I just like to kind of make sure it's tight and everything else.
But if it's up in the room there, let you guys know.
Yeah, and then we'll just have somebody go out there.
All right, we can do that.
We just parked the trailer, they got
Right,
cars
right,
and stuff
no,
there.
we can do that, Al, that's no
All
problem.
right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ellen Gleason, Midlothian Park District. I understand at a previous meeting, there was a discussion about charging to have a fire truck come to the fireworks for anybody that's having them. I have a concern about that. We're set to adopt our fiscal budget tomorrow night, and this has not been done in my 19 years of tenure at the Park District. And since this is a community-wide event, Park District has picked up the expense for the fireworks, which has been $7,000 in the last several years, $5,000 to $7,000 every year that I've been at the park. I've just asked for some consideration of the fact that this is a community-wide event. We're serving all the residents. We all serve the same people, the same taxpayers. I think this is a different scenario, and I would ask the board's consideration of that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? With no further comments, I'll close the floor to public comment. And at this time, we have 911 committee recommendation. Deputy Chief Delaney, would you like to address?
Do you want me to read the entire?
You don't have to read it to us, just want to summarize it for it.
Okay. At the last 911 board meeting with Blue Island, they advised us that there was going to be an impending increase, that he developed some new methodology on how to charge us. I gave you guys an email that has 2 forms on it to show the type of methodology that they were considering using and charging us, either based on population or based on calls for service.
Just to interrupt, did everybody see the email and get to read the cover page? Okay, so we talk numbers and stuff, okay. Sorry.
No, sure. So based on their methodology, our price was going to increase from $230,000 annually to possibly $365,000 or $461,000, depending on how they decided to charge that. So I started shopping 911 centers. I met with Coke Forest, Elsis, and Fenimore Park. To summarize that and make a long story short, Cal Park offered us the best offer offer monetarily, and they were the smoothest transition from an equipment compatibility standpoint. Their offer is $200,000 per year flat, which is $30,000 less than we currently pay Blue Island. I was able to negotiate an escalator clause in there, so we can't have the same scenario that we have with Blue Island currently, where they can just, pretty much increase it any way they deem fit from year to year. The escalator clause indicates that they can't go more than 3% annually. So if we were to go 20 years out, we'd be roughly at $350,000, which is still less than what they're trying to increase us to now. There would be some costs as far as transfer of equipment. That would be through Chicago Communications. The estimated cost of the transfer is $100,294. Cal Park decided to make it an incentive to come over, that they would waive the first 8 monthly payments, which would be a $133,333 savings. So not only are we saving $30,000 from what we've initially paid Blue Island, but we have an additional $33,000 savings in the first year from the waiving of the 8 payments minus the transfer cost. So we'd actually save $63,000 in the first year by moving to them, and that's before the impending increase. If you factored in the increase that then we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings. There's also some smaller ones that'd be willing to monitor our cameras remotely, so we don't have to do prisoner watches as much or as frequent now. We have the same CAD system, so we wouldn't have to pay for a CAD dump of all of the information into a new CAD service. Because their server is a little bit better than ours and more updated, we'd actually get an upgrade from our current CAD system and be able to run the newer version of it. So we have a savings there. But the biggest thing is that we finally have a contract with somebody. We'd be able to determine what our payments are long term and establish a relationship with them. So we don't have to worry about this every year, what the payment's going to be, and go from year to year wondering, if they're going to have an impending increase. Blue Island did have a meeting with us as they heard the chatter that we're shopping dispatch centers, and they did offer to keep the $230,000 for the next 5 years. But he indicated in that meeting that it would give him time to figure out how he wants to charge. He denied ever making this letter, even though I have it right in my hands, that they were trying to increase it that much. But he said that he spoke to Motorola and he was trying to determine some methodology on how much to charge per cubicle for each dispatcher. So it sounds to me like even though they're offering to keep us because they know they're going to lose that $230,000 contract, that after that 5-year contract were to expire, I think we'd be right back here and this Cal Park deal would be off the table. One of the other big things I forgot to include, right now we collect our own surcharge monies. The state makes it mandatory now that any municipality under a population of 25,000 has to consolidate with other municipalities to get a total population of over 25,000. So we do have to consolidate with somebody, even though we're with Blue Island right now, we're still not in compliance because we collect our own surcharge monies and we have to disband our own 911 board. So no matter who we go with, they're going to collect our surcharge monies. So taking that into consideration, I tried to negotiate that into the contract with Cal Park, and they are willing to credit us 75% of the surcharge monies that we receive towards the bill. The other 25% they're going to put into a capital improvement plan, so if their equipment ever was to become antiquated, and they're going to do that with the other municipalities as well, they have something to fall back on to replace that equipment. So the other 75% of the monies are actually going to be credited towards that bill.
That was gonna be one of my questions. So they're gonna take 100% of our 911. 25% is gonna go to capital fund.
Correct.
75% will go for the monthly
Correct.
fees. So we would only be billed the difference then.
Correct. And technically, they don't even have to do so because the new state statute says that they're permitted and almost pretty much mandated to take our monies anyhow.
But that'll be in the contract.
It is in the
It is
contract.
But we still will have to make up the difference.
Right.
Well, we'd have to make it with the regardless.
So basically, what does that amount to in, see my brain's gone, what does that amount to in dollars at the 25%?
Well, it's gonna fluctuate every month. Of the last two annual 911 reports that I filed with the state, we received 91,000 the 1 year in surcharge monies, and the other year we received 115,000. So that fluctuates, and primarily because of cell phones.
Like the landlines.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting away from landlines. A lot of people are going to cell phones, and computer internet charges go on there. So the mayor probably speak a little bit about that as well. The town that you use your cell phone in the most is the town that will actually claim those monies. So that's why it's going to fluctuate every single year. But like I said, historically, we're looking at an average of 100,000 per year. So we'd say 75,000 should be about credited towards the bill, and 25,000 should go to the capital improvements plan on average.
With that, 2 key points is, one, they have top of the line equipment right now because they're brand new centers, so that's going to be a help for capital improvement. And 2, there's nothing at all been discussed at all from Blue Island. If we stay there, that they will give us any star surcharge. At this point, all we seem to think is that they're just going to take it, pay the salaries with that, so we will get nothing. And we have no choice from the state at that level.
Who does Calcom dispatch for right now? It's Cal Park.
I'm sorry?
Who do they dispatch for?
Oh, who else? Yeah, Linwood currently. That's one of the reasons that I think the offer is so attractive, is because currently they're not in compliance, because their combined population with Calumet Park and Linwood, they're still not at the 25,000. They need to take one other town on to be compliant, and we all have to file a plan by July 1st to say, this is the towns that we're going to be with to establish a PSAP, which is a communication center.
So how long have they been in operation? You said they're relatively.
Well, they got a grant to build that thing a couple of years ago, so they've been doing it, but the new laws just happened roughly a year ago to where you had to have a certain population, and they have to collect the surcharge monies, you have to dissolve your own 911 board, so they're giving a little bit of time on that. We have to submit a plan by this July, but by July 2017, it has to actually be in effect.
No, Cal Park they've been up and running.
They've been up and running, but
For how long?
I'm not sure. I know they built it a few years ago.
I thought it was only about a year. I thought it was like last March or April they opened
It's
up,
about
wasn't
8
it?
months, I think.
Yeah, about 8 months.
Okay.
Hasn't been a full year yet, so they have time to.
And they have highly qualified dispatchers?
Yeah, they're actually probably going to be taking a lot of the current Blue Island people that were asking us about that, because there's been the chatter, so everyone kind of realizes that this is happening because Blue Island is antiquated. They're going to be spending millions of dollars to replace their outdated equipment, and everyone else knows that that center is brand new and that a lot of towns are starting to migrate towards it. So they've got a bunch of applications on their desk that they asked me about who do you think would be a good person to bring over and whatnot. So they're already interviewing a bunch of the Blue Island staff already.
Yeah, I know when we had discussed with Blue Island, they were talking about setting up a 911 board that we would be a part of.
We're already on the 911 board, but yeah, they have to regardless.
You'd be part.
We have
Yeah.
to disband ours.
No, I know we have to disband ours. I just wanted to make sure we were going to have a voice in their board.
Yeah, that's actually mandated by the state. We have to have
Representation?
yes.
Okay.
They actually said they wanted to do 2 different boards there, one that we're mandated to do, and have a separate one for the capital improvement, like the capital improvement board to figure out how they want to spend those monies as well. So we'd have a say in both ends.
I presume with Lansing, on their own money, they're putting 25% away as well.
Yeah, they're gonna have that on everybody that comes in, they're surcharging. And the reason they come up with that amount is because obviously each town's gonna be different. I know they're talking to Country Club Hills right now, which they probably get more money than we do. So that's why they're setting it at a certain percentage versus a dollar amount.
It's a smart move because in 10 years, they won't find themselves in the same position Blue Island's in
Right,
today.
exactly.
With old equipment and no way to pay for any type of upgrade.
Sauk Village is the other town.
Yes.
Not the
Yeah.
You said
Did I say that? Oh, sorry.
Sauk Village.
One of those easy.
Another thing that helps sell it from our point of view is the ISO rating for the insurances for the businesses. It's broken down in 3 sections: fire department, public works or water supply, and dispatch. So the dispatch score was very bad for Blue Island. They didn't have training documentation for the dispatchers. That hurt our overall score that maybe could have bumped us up a class. So we're working toward getting up that class next time. And this is really going to help as far as, because Calcom's already started on sending them to classes above and beyond what they need, not just the minimums. So that all help, it all ties in together with insurance, right?
I don't want to be a Grinch, but, you know, of course I talked to Blue Island because of that other little four-letter with Java, but, you know, they claim that there's no way that Cal Park can actually sustain the service and charging this amount of money. Now, when we started with Blue Island, you know, it was going to save us money and this and that and so on and so forth. It makes me nervous because for two reasons. One is they're sort of new, and number two is, I don't know, did we have Bill look at the contract? Do we have a contract?
We do have a contract. I don't know if Bill has looked at it yet.
Okay, good, because they're, of course, their law firm is Olson, which makes me even more nervous. So, I mean, I would ask Bill, you know, the village law firm, who's going to write the contract, and I would ask, and I would have Bill look at that with a fine tooth.
Did everybody get the copy of that contract?
Yeah.
It was sent to us.
Right, and we didn't pass it on yet because we wanted this discussion first.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course,
And
I
once you know
understand.
everything, then we'll
I
present.
think we already had some other things we
There's
were.
probably gonna be a couple verbiage tweaks. We've already had, you know, Deputy Chief of Police already had them, which you can see in some of it, the crossed out and changed, and, you know, there's been some tweaks to it that we thought right out of the gate, and then.
I think one of the,
To attorney fees.
You know, just one of the things that.
right, but I think one of the reasons that shouldn't concern you as much is because of the current state law where they're making people consolidate that otherwise wouldn't have.
Yes.
There's a bunch of towns right now shopping, so they're speaking of Country Club Hills, they're speaking of Markham, Elsip still, when I talked to them, because they have their own dispatch center, they kind of didn't even get back to me because they're not even sure they want to run their own anymore. They started talking to other municipalities.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people are starting to make
Some of the
moves.
people you're talking about are people that aren't paying their bills. You know, you're telling me about
Aren't paying the bills to whom?
Mid-Mark.
Uh,
You're talking about stuff, you're talking about Sauk Village and Markham and things, that scares the living heck out of me. I mean, that's, you know, I mean, let's watch out that we're getting better. First of all, I like Mayor Density, he's a sharp guy, and I think Cal Park's trying to run a good ship. That's not a question, I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about, let's see where we're going here, who we're getting in the bed. If they don't pay their bills, where are we here, you know, as far as that goes? Not to say they won't, but I mean, you know, both of them are financially distressed. Now, the other thing, Blue Island is financing us. Do we have plans to just pay them back in, because Blue Island is also financing Cal Park. So, do you know that? Blue Island is actually financing, so I mean, all this, I don't know if this all adds up. 2 and 2 is equaling 5, so I'm not sure. So, I mean, if Cal Park can't afford to.
Even if for whatever reason they weren't able to sustain, they can't just pull the plug and leave us without service state law that will prevent that.
Okay, all right.
Regardless if we were with them for 1 year or long term, which I think it should work out long term, but we're saving $63,000 in the first year just to move. If we had to revisit it then, I want this to be long term, but Blue Island scares me because, one, they're trying to figure out all this new methodology to make these increases, and it's gonna happen regardless. Whether it be their, you know, and we had to sit down with their finance guy, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. That guy's a complete liar, which I'm done with him right then and there. Because he's saying he didn't create this form, and I got the form right here. And he was at the 911 meeting when he presented it. So,
And he said that he never sent this.
Yeah, I know.
so we're gonna have to migrate to somebody else?
This is
No.
a lot of good research. I'm not saying that.
No, right.
Just makes me sort of
I'm with you,
nervous.
and the mayor even said it when we had the meeting, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
Well, that's-
However, their backs are against the wall. They received all this grant money to build this place. They're still not in state compliance. They have to bring other towns in to be compliant, or all that was for naught. So I think that's why this offer is so attractive right now, and that's why I would rather do it and move with them while the offer is on the table, because I guarantee you, this offer isn't there 5 years from now. Every other town, Oak Forest is in at 450,000. Southwest Central is 450,000. So,
Right, that's what scares me. How can,
Well, and that's.
Because they're
but the other one was total grant money, and the other ones are trying to make it be a revenue
And
generator.
that's what I was gonna say, is that we have towns shopping our business as well, you know, that we've been contacting through Southwest,
Sure.
are two main ones, and that's the key to it all, is that Cal Park is working off the grant. You know, they don't have that already.
but right now, they don't have to worry about the equipment cost.
Exactly.
Okay, I got that. I mean,
No,
I'm not
right, we're
arguing,
just-
I'm not
that's why
arguing
we're
any of
just
this, but I'm
Our offer is like being the anchor tenant
Yeah,
shot
that's
or
right,
something.
that's right, okay. And you're saying no matter what happens as far as Cal Park getting funded, they still can't turn us off?
No, right. Blue Island can't, even Blue Island, I'm sure would have loved to have just turned us off, just hearing this chatter, but they can't. And the finance guy started making, threatening tactics to retain us in the meeting as well, as far as, hey, we're not a bank, but, you think if you leave us, we're not gonna charge you interest. There's nothing in the contract that says they can charge us interest. I'm not a lawyer on that, I'm sure Bill would know more, but if it's not in the contract, how can you just charge us interest? And anybody that doesn't get their way, that starts using threatening tactics against us, to me, that's not a person we want to be in business with. But I spoke to Maggie about it a little bit. She said that when the tax money comes in, we probably would have enough, I think we're at 95,000 right now, to pay them off almost one lump sum. I don't know if that's up to you guys, whether you want to do that or not, or just continue paying them the 5,000. But we're getting 8 months where we're not paying anything. So
Yeah.
we've got some time to make up some huge ground with that.
As long as we're protected, that's the big thing. No matter what, it's just scared, I just scared at 200,000, 450,000, but the big
We're
issue
paying them
here
off.
is, they have, these other places have more costs. There's a sinking fund for capital improvement, which is a good thing, that protects everybody. And I understand that our quality ratings for them is poor. It's always been a problem, I understand, it's just.
I think it's been worse in recent, at least.
Well,
Since I've been back with police services.
I think it's been, the fire department is the one that have a major problem. We just had a problem with the service. The fire department's had a problem with, they can speak more.
Getting the right address.
They've had a problem with service as well as hearing the radio, or, just hearing,
Okay, as long as you get billed to the contract, you're okay.
Well, and that's what, if everybody thinks this is positive.
Yeah, this wasn't just give you guys a, hey, sign on it, can I just bring it to your attention, the lawyer needs to look it over and.
Take the next
Another
step.
discussion once he looks at it, because most of it, we reviewed it too, and talks about 3% increases, at the maximum 3%, it talks about the contract, it's all pretty much, as much as we can think of, is all covered in this contract. That's probably why we never had a contract with them. They can do what they want.
Are the dispatchers in Kelly Park Union?
No, they're an outside service, I believe the service is called Hertz. So that's why the.
Outside service is called who?
Hertz.
You know that
Fine, I got that, sorry, never mind. I'm hiding under the desk now.
And that's one of the reasons that escalator
That
clause
was
is in
cool. That
there.
was part one of those big problems, is that their dispatchers were union.
Yeah.
And then when the union negotiated a big contract for wages, the dispatchers went up and Blue Island can't control it. But this way, that's where Kurtz operates too. It's basically, they'll set a contract like that too. So that's a good feature too. Okay, fine.
Yeah, they also explain that Kurtz supplies the dispatchers, but Blue Island and Cal Park and the board will have control over which ones that they
Yeah,
take
it
and
was something
accept.
like the fire, never mind.
And the increase also, they said the increase on their wages for the 3% is depending on what Kurtz charges or what their raises are. So the board would sit down and discuss that, and they'd be willing to make that up to 3%.
So we'd be a part of those negotiations, but we have a seat on that board.
So if
Yeah,
they get
that's
1%,
the way
then
it
they would be a
happens,
1% increase. If they get 2% with the board approval, then they get 2%. So
Okay.
we're explaining.
When we get to say in disciplinary action and things like that, but being on the board, we're at Blue Island right now, we contact them, email and tell them, hey, this is the problem we have, and they've taken proper action on a couple things. But there's been quite a few things where it's like, hey, we can't have this other stuff. We can't have somebody forgetting dispatch the fire department when you got a house fire. And that was the last draw right there where you got an apartment on fire and they didn't dispatch the fire department.
What is the length of the potential contract?
And the one they want initially is for 5 years, and then it's 1 year after that. It basically just continues on unless we say otherwise. We don't have to sign a new one with them every single year. It just would go year by year, and then each party would have the ability to back out with, I forget how much notice I have to look for.
But it could be an
I think
option,
60 days.
on our side of up to 20 years.
No, I'm saying I did the amortization chart on it.
Okay.
Say worst case scenario, they did a 3% increase every single year. I think we'd be right around 350,000, which is still less than what Blue Island's trying to increase us to now. So unless they were to stop a contract midstream and say, hey, we're not happy with the way this is, let's renegotiate, that's what we'd be at. Which I like that, being able to forecast where we're gonna be at down the road versus hoping in 5 years from now they don't determine another new methodology and, you know, where they get these figures from is beyond me, you know?
But we know what our costs are for the next 5 years.
Right.
And we can budget accordingly.
Right.
Right.
And I recommend anyone going, if anyone's on the fence, to take it right over there and take a tour of the facility. It's just not pretty lights. It's state-of-the-art stuff that will continue to be state-of-the-art because they put together this capital improvement plan. So at this point, we're going to be on the hook at Blue Island for a ton of money with all the upgrades. So
And in the future, probably more, because the capital
above and beyond.
improvement is gonna be awesome, it's gonna be awful.
But take it right over there and check it out. It's a great facility and very professional operation. And,
Blue Island will deny that they need equipment. They say they're good for another 3 to 5 years. But I talked to Chi-Con, who represents them, and they said their equipment needs to be replaced like now. So, yeah.
Technical.
And that's their own vendor saying that.
If anybody wants to go over there, just let one of us know. We're more happy, they'd be more happy to show it to you. It's a beautiful place. And Trustee LaRue was there, and we'd be happy to take anybody over there and see their operations and facility.
They also offer us use state-of-the-art training room that we can use anytime we want, schedule training sessions or anything, use it. There's all we have to schedule it.
top-notch operation.
If everything goes well and we go with this, who's going to be in charge of the transition team?
Oh, that would be myself, Chi-Com, representatives from Cal Park, and then probably the fire chief or his designee, just to make sure the operations don't skip a beat. You know, just make it seem simple. It is almost a flip of a light switch where everything transfers over. It would actually be up and running. Both ends, Cal Park will be running, and Blue Island will be running at the same time, and then we just stop using Blue Island and we go to Cal Park.
Will you guys have a plan then put together before you do the transition?
I think there actually is an email I sent out in terms of the timeline.
Yeah, the Chi-Com quote that they gave basically covers all of that. It's a lot of technical language that I'm not sure I can explain to you 100%. I know the basic gist of it, but all of the equipment that they need to put in, and essentially the toughest part is actually the fire equipment. The police equipment doesn't skip a beat because we're on the same radio frequency as them already. Even though they're on the same frequency as the fire department, their equipment's so antiquated that they're afraid that they won't be able to hear each other. So we have to upgrade their equipment with a new microwave system, and we're getting away from a T1 line to more of a digital line, and so we don't have those problems.
How long do you expect the transition to take?
Well, depending on how long.
Month, a year?
No, it won't be a year, it'll be a couple months, I'm sure, just do the equipment, get the equipment ordered and have them do that, but I guess it would, however long it takes for the lawyers to look at it and that, I think, just say where to have it now, I think we'd be up and running in June.
Okay, could we get like a regular status report then, saying where you guys are in your plan and what kind of milestones you're gonna be delivering?
Right.
And when they're gonna be completed?
Well, the first thing would be, because the only hiccup that will be in here that could make this a little bit longer is, one, you guys have to approve this, and then we have to bring this to the state saying, this is what our plan is to consolidate, and the state has to approve it. That could be the only thing that holds it up. Anytime the state gets involved, obviously, we know where that could go. But once it's approved by all parties, then we'd actually do it. It doesn't seem like it would be too difficult to actually move equipment and get lines up and running. Like I said, we're already on the same police frequency as them. It is the same fire frequency, but the equipment just needs to be changed out, and then we move phone lines and,
When you say we're moving phone lines, are we gonna have to be doing any kind of rewiring of the village or anything like that? or-
it's just a matter of calling
Any
AT&T
other-
and saying it's forwarding from one to there.
So we're not gonna need any AT&T extra lines or anything like that, or Comcast lines, I guess was probably what we.
The Comcast lines will come into play because they're not using the T1 line anymore, it's going to be Comcast. The representative from Chi-Com said he actually doesn't need the AT&T representative to come out, he can actually do that himself. I'm not really sure how, I'm not that technical with it, I probably know more about it than I probably ever should. But I'm still not sure I understand completely what all they're talking about, I just know that he said he can do it from our room and from there, and it'll be up and running before.
So that'll be all in their project plan then?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you keep us informed, that'd be like really great, you know, as it goes along. And any problems you guys run into, that'd be great for us to know about ahead of time, instead of, you know, a week or a month later.
Shouldn't be, just, and I don't know if you acknowledge this, being on the board newer. We did this, obviously, when we used to have our own dispatch center here, I don't know if you're aware of that, okay. So, yeah, so, I mean, it was, when we transferred to Blue Island, it was like, it was like lines, and it's like, okay, at 10:30 Wednesday night, we're officially switching over, and that's kind of, you know, that would be the same plan. We would obviously, if there's any hiccups, let you know, but that's.
Okay, well, that would be something we want to see, the board. You know, see how the plan is going.
Simple. It's just a matter of, all of a sudden, the radio's gonna go to Cal Park, or Calcom, and the phones are gonna ring there instead of ringing Blue Island. That's the key to it, is mostly the phone. And make sure they're ringing in the right place.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I said, we're already on the same frequencies, and if I push the button right now and I said Cal Park, they hear us. So it's just a matter of them keying up and saying Midlothian now.
Okay.
For the fire department, it's the same, but they're afraid, but they won't be able to hear each other in certain spots. That's why the equipment needs to be upgraded.
Okay.
So then it's just a matter of moving the phone lines over there. They would take control of the tornado siren, and then the call box outside the police department. It's actually a phone line, so when you press the button, it calls the dispatch center, so that needs to be changed over too.
I'm not so much concerned about the technology, but more about the process and keeping.
That's what I mean.
keeping
It's
us
actually
in the
fairly
loop.
simple. It's just a matter of changing the equipment and forwarding phone lines.
It's something really crazy happened. We still hold license, FCC licenses for all of our radio networks, our old networks.
So you have a backup plan already?
Well, it's the system, our old system that we use when we dispatched here.
Yeah.
We maintain them licensed just because we have them right. If you ever go to the FCC now, and try to get a radio network, good luck. Because we got people like Southwest, that's part of the reason, they would love to have ours, but we won't give it to them. You know, we've had this for, I don't know, since the radio's been.
In an emergency situation, we
So
could
if we
dispatch
had-
here if we needed
If
to.
we had to turn it on, it's still operating, we just have to turn it on. You know, so if it was a major, something major, you know, and that's why we keep them. We have them, why give them up, it don't cost us anything.
So we have a backup system in place.
Yep.
If it fails. Okay.
All I do is turn the radio on, switch, as long as the battery's charged,
Any
it'll work.
further questions from the trustees? Thank you for a great job. Appreciate
Strong
it.
work on this.
And you know what? I'll let you leave it if you want to stay.
All right, thank you. I got a search warrant at 4 in the morning, so thank you. Didn't say where.
Mayor, we can make the slight change in the agenda to have the full status report. Because Maureen's gonna present that.
Okay. Trustee Ivan's asking that the one item underneath his, for the phone service status report, go next, so the employee that's got work tomorrow can do her report as well.
No? So trustee Ivan asked me to have a representative with me as well today. Unfortunately, I don't have any representative that is available. All my representatives that I deal with for Birch, which was formerly CBN, are out of Atlanta, Georgia. And once the completion of this happened, my sales team guy, Charles, basically, he's no longer on this. I just work with techs, technical support with issues that are happening. So a few things that he had asked for was the outstanding issues that are going on right now. The biggest issue that we're having is that we have some ringing of phones, like a double ring, going on in the fire department and in the police, in the public works department. It's random when it's happening. They can't figure out why it's happening. They believe it's related to our stuff here, possibly a switch or a router. And I am working with Kelvin on it. We're going to be buying a new switch, which is, instead of a smart switch, it's going to be an unmanaged switch. Thinking that might solve the problem. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's annoying. And so the other thing that is outstanding is the phone list. So as soon as I have It's a little bit of time, I'll get that phone list together, but we are in crunch time right now, we don't have much time left before village stickers need to go out, and that hasn't even started yet. And water bills are at the end of the month, and that hasn't started yet either. So right now, we're kind of making do with the phone list that we have, because that does take time, because there have been changes.
Maureen, when you
Yes.
say the phone list, what exactly is that?
Just
Is that
an
your-
internal phone list for us to use.
We don't have an internal phone list for us to use right now?
Well, we do, but there's been a few changes.
Meaning what?
Meaning like Cheryl Liv's phone used to be 974, and now it's 264. Billy D. Simone didn't exist, now he does. Just some little changes like that.
So the direct dial numbers, do they work for
Direct
you, or are you
downloads
talking
are all
about
the same.
extension?
I'm just, well, direct numbers all are the same, except for Fire Station 2 was not on this system. Now they are, so those need to be added. But the day-to-day operation, nobody's having any issues with the fact that they can't reach anybody. It's just making it cleaner and nicer and different.
Okay, so updating the phone list is impacted by the water bill, and what else did you say?
I personally have to do that, and we're at the point now where the water bills are gonna go out have to go out on the first of the month, well, it's the 2nd, or the 30th. We've been really busy, and so I haven't been able to work on that very much. So I have to stop everything else I'm doing so I can get that done. Usually by now we have all of our vehicle stickers printed and are at the point where we have sorted over half of them and they're ready to go to be sent to the mail.
Okay, I still don't understand what's the difficulty of generating a phone list of telephone numbers?
Sure, the difficulty is that it's gonna take me a couple hours to go through it. I wanna make sure everything's right, all the direct dials are right. So it's gonna take me sitting there in front of the computer, uninterrupted to do it. So it's just a
So a couple of hours?
Yes, a couple of hours, yes.
Is what you're saying?
Uninterrupted, it would probably be about 2 hours. So in my giving day, I tried to email Alan today. It was about 9:30 this morning. It took me about 3 hours to email him back. Because every time I started, I had to get up. Then I started again, and I got a phone call. I started
So
again.
you're saying your scheduling issues will impact the 2 hours that you need to finish this?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. Yes. I mean,
Is there someone else we can turn that process over to handle the 2 hours?
No.
Down, can you help me here?
Because it's not, you can't schedule people coming in, and phone calls coming in, and all of this, the process, it's just like me in retail, I the same thing. I'd like to sit down and work 2 hours, then a customer comes in, I get a phone call, and this and that, back and forth. By the end of the day, I look at 5 o'clock and I go, what the heck happened to the day? It's not even there. I know that feeling, and the big thing is, if you make a mistake on this thing, on the phone,
Then
you
I
have to
gotta
start all over again.
I just have to do it again, and I don't want to send something.
Right,
But right now, the priority is
Right.
getting the village stickers done and the water bills done. Everyone that's here that works in the village can keep going with the phone list they have. It's not a priority at this point. So I have to prioritize, and right now, getting that done is not a priority. So, yes, it is gonna be delayed for a little bit.
And what kind of delay are we talking about for 2 hours of work?
Okay. I'm getting feel a little frustrated by what's happening right now. Yes, I'm gonna choose what's most important. So right now, most important is getting those village stickers out, which means it's gonna be probably the 1st of May that I get that, and depending upon how busy we are the 1st of May, for me to get that done. Now, if Don asks me for something that's more important, that will again get pushed back. So it all depends upon, if a resident comes in and needs me, I'm gonna deal with that resident at the window, versus getting a new phone list for the people here. If I can pass that on to someone else who's not working on anything, but right now, all of the employees in the office are very busy as well. Nicole and Robin are working continually, and they're doing a great job, but they're working very, very steadily, and they have a lot on their plate as well.
Did the issue get fixed, Chief? When you dial out, the number came up, building department, did that get fixed?
Yeah, that was
All
taken
that
care
is
of.
fixed now.
We only got the radio music that we get to do.
Yeah,
with them.
so once I can get back to the rest of
I
it.
can stay on the radio, it plays on our speakers all the time.
Did that somewhat clarify your question?
Continue.
Okay. The other issue that we're having, other than the phone list, is related to the fire department, is they have a device that just plugs in and it's only a speaker that rings. When the phone rings, it makes the speaker in the, what do you call that?
Apparatus for.
Apparatus for a ring.
So you hear it outside.
Yeah. I was not involved in the beginning process of when they came on site. Were you here when they came on site to do a study of what we have? So I didn't even know that that existed, and we didn't really know if it was working when we installed the new system. Because they had moved the desk back there, and then it wasn't working for a while. So Birch is saying, well, it wasn't working when we came in here, so how will we know that it's not a problem with us? So that's something that is still ongoing. They don't seem to know how to get it to work. Nobody seems to know how that, just to make it ring. Because right now, when it rings, you can make it ring, but then the next time you pick up a call, it won't ring. If you try it all the time, then you hear you're talking through the apparatus floor. So we're working on that,
But if it's plugged directly into a phone jack, I think it would probably need some sort of
but
filter
nobody.
or something.
I don't know where she's music from.
Yeah, now we're getting
See,
some
text
sort
in or
of
reading
text
music.
in
I have no
music.
idea what station it is.
I don't know, and I don't know how it's doing it either. I don't know
Not
how
our
that's
language.
happening.
The good news is when the heaters go on and stuff's going, you can't hear it.
He thought he was hearing
I turned it
things.
down now so I can't hear it.
Yeah.
Just raise more.
So that side of it. Now, you also asked on the lessons learned. I think the biggest lesson for me was knowing what I was getting into. When I was presented this to do the phones, what my job was to, when they came in on the day of the install, to say where these phones are going, and just to make sure that they ring. And then that was my consent of, basically what my position with this phone was. And then there was no one to give the data that they needed, so I helped in that process. So it was very difficult for knowing what was supposed to be happening, because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what the steps were. I kind of got thrown into it. So I never, even to this point, really knew what was happening from the beginning to the end. I just kind of kept trying to get information so that we could get this done. The other lesson,
I'm sorry, Maureen, just one thing. I think it's somewhere in there the vendor changes as well too, right?
Yes.
With a different company.
yeah. The other lesson is that bringing your own device when it comes to a phone system is not something that I would ever recommend. Because had we bought devices from them, they would have been pre-set up, they would have come in, they would have set it down, plug it in, and we would have been good to go. But we decided to use our existing phones, which was a lot cheaper. It would have been like $14,000 to get phones. It's just a rough estimate of what that cost would have been. But they don't have to support our existing phones. They will help get them up, but then after that, they don't have to support them. The phones that we had a lot of them that were not processing over. They weren't going through. And the little phones that we have, which are cheaper phones, those were a disaster. And the techs that were here, they had 3 different techs, or 2 techs on site that said there's nothing they can do, we can't use those phones. I was lucky enough to run into a tech out of Atlanta, Georgia. His name is Jamie Priest. He has been a godsend for the village. He is not required to help us on these things, and he has gone above and beyond, and I have written his boss about that. If it wasn't for him, there would be 10 phones of ours that we would have to buy brand new. So he continually, I work with him continually. There are other techs there that can't do what he can do. He is, he's really what has made this process 75% better, and it has not been a good process. What else do I have? The company was going through a merger, so originally it was Cevion, and at some point it turned to Birch. Well, what I've heard from the many people I've spoken at the company is the fact that when that merger happened, all the new installs just basically got put on hold. And we kept contacting, well, what's going on, what's going on? Well, after all that work that had been done by Alan, we didn't want to start over with looking for a whole new company. Alan said the savings was good. I had no idea. I'd never looked at a phone bill before. I didn't know what the savings were, if they were good. I trust you guys know what you're doing, so I was never on that side of it. So that was a challenge, that really with them going through this merger. So when that merger happened, we had an original, I don't know if we had a contract or just like a sort of contract that we had, where they set what those parameters were. I wasn't really involved on the parameters, So when I started submitting the data to them of what our phones are, they said we can no longer have, we had to pay per direct dial. So then I had to go through and get rid of as many direct dials as I could and resubmit. And direct dials are, like, for example, Chief has his phone, he's got his extension, but then there's also a 10-digit number to go directly to his phone. I encourage people not to use that, especially for those that are not at their desks, like us in the front office. You call that direct dial, you're just getting a voicemail. You call the hunt group, you're gonna get someone who can then get the person that you need. So I prefer people not to use that. Now for you guys, as in trustees with your voicemails, I didn't even know you guys used your direct dials. I didn't even really realize that you had direct dials, it's just extensions. So someone who wants Jerry's voicemail, they call and they want Jerry's voicemail, I just changed it to your extension. Well, I thought that was a great way to get, place to get rid of direct dials that we're not using. I didn't realize Alan gives it out all the time. So that's a lesson I didn't understand. So with the direct dials, I submitted everything went, and then months went by, and I said, what's happening, what's happening, what's happening? Finally, they said, well, this is all wrong, you can have all your direct dials, so I had to recreate everything all over again, with all the direct dials. And in that process, we found out we can bring on Fire Station 2, which was a great thing, because of the cost and the functionality right now, Fire Station 2 is very antiquated and was not very good. It has been a little bit of a challenge, but bringing them on was a good thing as well. So this process has been quite a bit of a challenge that I was not part of the whole thing, that I kind of got bits and pieces. And had I known the whole process and been a part of it all, I think it would have been a little bit easier, or if I knew what my responsibility was. Like just recently, I didn't know I had to do anything with the billing. I didn't know that I had to stop one, start one. I never looked at their bills. I don't do that side of things. Well, I guess I now do. I didn't realize that. So there is a lot of learning that has happened during this process. You also asked on additional costs.
Wait a second.
Go ahead.
When you're talking about the billing, you're talking about to change over to the different companies?
Yeah, I thought that was handled by you.
So didn't we have who's in charge, who's like the project manager for the phone conversion to make that kind? Who did we assume was going to do that?
I didn't know, I mean, you were part of this in the beginning, Alan.
I got proposals
Yeah.
and prices, and the board voted to switch to CCAM.
It
But
really-
it was in 2014.
So did we assign somebody to be the project manager for this project development? No.
But when Anita was here, Anita would have handled that.
Right.
Because Anita went above and beyond on every aspect. Anita Woodhouse was our accounts payable person. Anita would have she would have made sure that everything was taken care of with the bills. I just assume that's kind of how it is, but that's not really what our AP functionality is exactly right now, I guess. It's a little bit different. So I didn't understand that that was part of what I needed to be doing, and I have learned that now.
So you were never told that you were the project manager for this project?
My job was to make sure the phone got on the desk and got up and running. That was my job.
Okay. All right.
Okay. You asked about additional costs. Our additional costs when it came to Fire Station 2, that's where other than the initial plans, which I never really saw that initial contract, and sorry, I keep pointing to you.
No,
But
they weren't included in the first one.
yeah. It was about $38 for a switch, and then about $1,300 to run the wiring at Fire Station 2. Well, that is a little bit of a cost, but functionality is much better, and it's going to be working, hopefully, much better. And those phones over there were from oh yeah, one phone. It was from a long time ago, and they had to pull it from one place to another if they needed to use it. So this is much better now. You had asked on the labor. I didn't keep track of my time that I had worked on the system. I don't track how much time I spend on individual projects. That's not something I've ever done before. I know that Public Works does it for streets and, there are different things, but we don't do that in the front office. So I don't really have how much time I spent. I do know I spent a lot of time. For example, at Fire Station 2, when the install happened there, it took 2 days. It was supposed to be a simple switch, and there was a problem where Comcast messed us up. And Comcast changed our static IPs without letting us know, or let us know, but not in a very good way, through in one email. So it took all day long for Comcast to us to, we talked to about 7 reps, and it took till the 7th rep for him to figure out what the problem was. It's either, my attitude was it was either pay Calvin to be there, or my comp time to be there and be away. So I felt it was best for me to be there versus Calvin, because Calvin is a lot more expensive than I am. And I was also involved in this whole thing. So I can't tell you the exact amount of hours spent on it. I really have no idea. I just know it was a lot. I was getting phone calls at night, on weekends, to get the, I mean, every time the phone went down, I got a phone call, and I did what I had to do to get it run. That was my priority, is getting it done and doing anything that had to be done to the best of my ability. Okay, you had asked on why the process was delayed. I did mention a lot of things on there related to the fact that the merger happened, the on-site review. I was not in on that process at all. The direct dials and the changeover there, but the biggest problem was, the biggest delay was our phones, our existing phones. Let's see if is there anything else I'm missing that you're wanting to know?
That was quite a few things I wanted to know, but
Well,
let's
let
do
me know.
the
That's my
simplest
way.
things first.
Okay.
I talked to you about a month ago, said, hey, if you're having problems still with the phone system, that you should tell us about it, so that we could talk to our other trustees and stuff like that, or at least notify the board of any issues that you were having at the time. So when I got no information about that, I assumed that everything was great. And I come to find out on numerous occasions that there were all kinds of other different issues. So it would be nice if from this point in time that you can tell us or send an email about the current existing issues that you have. The phone ringing, the radio playing on the speaker, your completion of the phone list, and when you're expecting to have it done, so we can have an expectation that if you need assistance, that we can step up our game and help you
I work
to
directly.
resolve it,
Okay.
instead of, you
But
know,
I
this
work-
going on for 2
Okay, but I work
2
directly
years.
with Don, and that, and Don is my liaison, and that's who I work with. If I have issues, I work with him, he knows what's going on. I'm not quite sure if the rest of the board agrees that you want me to have to address everything to you.
No,
on a
if you would have
regular
notified
basis.
Don in an email format or told him, I'm sure he would have told us that there were still ongoing issues.
I don't,
She did tell me, we had a meeting that she did tell me.
we've had multiple
Talked
meetings.
about.
I don't know, the board is, and I know that you feel that things are different by our conversation. The board never had to get involved in such a micro managing type of way.
It's not
Excuse my way,
micromanaging.
I don't know a better way to explain it. So this is a little bit different than what we're used to doing. And I apologize, I thought, yes, you were asking for things, but I'm working directly with my trustee, and I felt that.
What I found, my lesson that I've learned is that communication has been a terrible here in the village. And we need to enhance the communication, okay? It's quite simple. You need to talk to your trustee, tell the trustee to tell the rest of the board if it's significant.
I shouldn't have to tell him to tell you guys
That's
things.
more on me, you know, I just think that the issues were being addressed, and I'm not so sure that the trustees could bring anything extra to the process, because everything was being worked on, but it's sort of like a unpacking, you know, trying to find things
But-
that we had to work on.
Don knows that if someone comes to that window, if a resident comes to that window and needs my attention, Don's gonna have to wait. You know that, right?
That's fine, but
What
we're talking
comes
about the
first?
project, so let's stay on the
Yeah,
project.
but the project, you have to understand that my job is not a job where I can, that I
Yeah,
can.
but we're
just-
not talking about your job, we're talking about
We
the
are
project.
talking about my job, because the project is part of my job. My day-to-day that I do here, this is part of it. You can't just isolate one thing, because my job is very diverse, and this project.
No, again, I want to stay on point here. I'm talking about the phone project, not your job.
Okay, when you send me an
Okay, I
email,
want to enhance the process that we go through for projects like this. Just like with the 911, I'm expecting the same kind of response back from them
I don't
when they
feel-
have ongoing issues.
But, you
I-
know, one thing, I think the big thing is that Maureen was not the project manager, she never was a project manager. she has communicated these things to me. If you're gonna yell at anybody, it should probably be me if you.
Oh, I apologize if I'm sorry.
If you expect me to communicate that to the board, I didn't think it was an issue that the board had any, that it could step up their game and bring anything extra to the process. If you expect that, then no, I don't, maybe that's my fault. Maureen kept me up to speed on a couple meetings about what was going on, and basically, that's what she's told you tonight, is the exact same things that she told me, but I don't know if the board has any solution to what she told you. What would the board, and I agree with you, the communication in this, we could be better with communication, but maybe I should have been better communicating to you about what was going on. Maureen was keeping me updated, but maybe I should have been better, I could have communicated with you better, but somebody should have communicated maybe with the board or with you better to make this process, to make you more comfortable with what is being done or the issues that are happening that are being resolved or not resolved.
And again, it's my major concern is the lack of communication or how it's flowing through all the different departments and stuff like that.
Right.
Now, the phone, like with the phone service, for instance, it took me over a month to get access to my voicemail.
Why
People
did
left
that?
me, what's that?
Why did it take you a month to get it?
Because the conversion process failed at some point in time. I was not told you told me gave me multiple deadlines when it was going to be converted.
Well, that's
And
the
then
deadline.
it didn't get converted, okay? And then I didn't find out until after it didn't get converted that it was still not converted when I went to check it myself.
But I did tell you
So
the
then when I
that
checked
the
my,
extension number works. The
I was
extension
still not
number
able to
works.
get my voicemails, okay?
You
So
weren't.
I had
Trustee,
messaged.
can I interrupt, please?
Yes.
This has turned into
Oh, all right,
more
I'm
than
sorry.
what I think you intended to do. I think it should have been probably dealt with in executive session. The tone, what I'm hearing, something that shouldn't have happened here.
I apologize for my touch.
Okay, I just want to say one thing, is that what I feel as an employee is that across the board of what each trustee feels what their job as a trustee is not uniform. And I feel that's where we're coming into some problems as employees. I can't speak for the rest of the employees, but if Gary or Jerry is your trustee, you expect one thing. If Alan is my trustee, you expect something else. If you're my trustee, there's something else. The uniformity of this board is not there in terms of what you expect from us as employees, and that's challenging. I feel that, just personally, that you guys need to have a conversation on that, and that probably be an executive session. I don't know if it can go in executive session, about what your role as a trustee is, because it is different, quite different from between the two of you. And we had this discussion in a meeting before, the three of us. So, is there anything else I can do this evening?
I'd just like to thank you for your efforts, because you were thrown into something that you were not prepared for. You, in my opinion, gone above and beyond trying to solve the problem, and we didn't have a project manager, Carol. We just didn't. I mean, you were right. At that time when this went through, Anita usually would be the person. I think she was the one that pretty much did the interfacer for Simcoe when that happened. A lot of it was.
We had a technology person on staff at that time as well too.
Judy.
That's right. Oh, that's right, Judy. So the bottom line is, I think there was a lot of issues, a lot of unexpected issues, a lot of things that are still not solved. But, I think Maureen's tried hard to put extra effort into trying to get them solved. If there's communication problems, I think we should talk about it in the future, where what does the board expect for communication? And maybe also if we do designate a project like this, we need a responsible project person and not just throw it to the person who's happens to be there and has the most knowledge about the village. So I'd like to thank you for your efforts, and I know it's a pain in the, but you've done a great job.
And I want to thank you for your efforts too. I'm taking this personally. I'm more worried about communication and the process. The only way we can improve it is by pointing out the issues that we have with our communication process. And so you were a great example to point out to the rest of the board where we had issues, when we didn't have the project manager, when we didn't have a regular series of communications that occurred to the board. See, if I was informed that, about the potential issues, I could have then did something to handle it from my side. I mean, there's always potential solutions that a trustee could come up with to solve their problems as well, or to work with the rest of the team. So again, I want to thank you for your effort, especially being put in the situation you were put into.
Do you need any more?
No, giving me, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Marcy.
Next one.
Okay, we'll move on to trustee business, trustee Price.
The first item that I have under my business is the US EPA brownfield assessment grant. And there seems to have been some disconnect about this grant here. And again, maybe the board can help me understand where. This is one of the largest grants the village has ever received. And I have been working on this since 2012, getting businesses, property owners to agree to a phase 1 and a phase 2, and it's all about economic development. And I speak about it frequently, but there does seem to be some disconnect here because Drive Time went out and got their own phase 1. And again, Carol, maybe a communication thing. But maybe you can help me see what we've got to do. But the grant expires in September. And I was really troubled when I heard that Drive Time went and got their own. Now, when I have a property owner call me or a developer call me, and they have questions about the property, I usually, if we have the appraisal, I send them the appraisal, I tell them how many square feet. They'll want to know maybe about utilities. They want to know information, but probably one of the first things I tell them is, we got the grant, we can have the environmentals done, or the environmentals have been done. That is key. I'm not an economic development director, but I do know from my experience that communicating about the environmental situation on properties is key. So I'm looking for the board's input so that we can work in the little time that we have, maximize this grant. Again, if there's any concerns, we have a highly qualified engineer in Peter Camberos who has talked to owners to allay their fears and explain everything in a phase 1 or a phase 2 report. As a matter of fact, I have regular meetings with him, and he was out here on Friday. So I don't know what else I can do. This is on our website. It explains it. I'm just looking for more input. I don't want to see another property owner have to pay for a study when it's not.
Do we do like a flyer or something like that?
It's been on the website.
No, I mean when they apply for the business application.
Well, it wouldn't be when you apply for a business. You have to own the property.
And Drive Time never told me they were going to go do anything like that. They never questioned anything about
But
the
did you
environmentals.
communicate that we've got the US EPA grant and the environmentals have been done?
We didn't have that conversation at all.
Okay, because that's really key with any economic development, is communicating that the environmentals, either you have the funds to do it, which this is all about, and again, we were only one of 3 communities in the state in this round of awards. And it's just key to let everybody know that either we've got the money or the environmentals have been done. It's key, it's really important. It really, the end goal is economic development with this grant. And again, nobody's reached out to me about to allay any of their fears. On Drive Time, Peter is available to talk to them, to talk to anybody.
And I emailed Sean, and I had a conversation on the phone with Sean. I said that our expert would be more than willing to talk to him about any further remediations, any further questions they have. He said that they were fine and that they were working through their corporate issues. And that's all I've heard.
Don, did you have something?
May I suggest that the property that just went up for sale on Kedzie, talk to them, because originally it was electronics.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there might be some environmental issues with that. Maybe that would make the process of selling it a little bit easier. It always does. When we have it in hand, it makes that process go quicker. The buyer is a little more sure of what's going on.
I agree. But then I wouldn't want somebody to come in and do it again, because that's what's happened.
Yeah, anyone that's looking to sell property now or looking to buy property now, the first thing should be told is, we have this US EPA problem assessment, and here's how we can help you. I mean, that's the first thing that happens.
Most of the time, just don't worry about it. It's fine.
Or, but we've got the
Everything like-
reports, that's key, I mean, I've communicated that, and I've sent these reports
And then
over and
even
over.
even so, if there is a problem, you know that there's a loan fund for certain remediations and the engineer can help. So there's a lot of good things Midlothian can offer that other towns can't. So, you know, let's use it to our advantage. But I would suggest maybe if we can get in contact with the owner of the
Okay.
Kessie property, because that would be a little scary if they somehow had waste that was toxic.
And that property is for sale, and it's listed at 1.3 million.
Is this where the church is?
Yes.
The old state.
Yeah, it's a church, right?
Amtrak building.
Amtrak, yeah.
Electronics manufacturer, well, I don't know what they did exactly, but circuit boards or, I don't know what they did.
And they did owe an enormous amount of property taxes, but they received an exemption.
That building also has flooding issues too. So it floods a lot.
But I did talk to you sent me to the land bank meeting on Monday. I talked to Brent Denson, and he said they could have filed to have those taxes removed when they went for their exempt status.
And they did.
And they obviously did. Okay, second item on the agenda is the discussion about the village and the VFW parking lot spaces. And I finally met with Chief Kaufman, and we had a good discussion, and one of his ideas was to either have their dumpster, the VFW's dumpster moved to where our dumpsters are, or just get rid of the dumpster entirely and let them utilize our dumpsters. So I communicated that, I communicated with Superintendent Sperry to see if that would be an option, and he said no, it wouldn't be a problem. And if they filled up, he would just have Republic come and dump them more frequently. But the VFW, in my communication with George Doughton, they would like 4 spots adjacent to the back of their building where the dumpster is now. It would be a square, 2 on each side, and then 6 spots back where the seized vehicles are stored. So I think, and I guess I would have to have, and I sent an email out to Chief Kaufman and Superintendent Sperry to make sure that that is an equal trade, and I think there are 10 spots along the side of the building. So as long as I have Chief Kaufman here tonight too, you know, I think we have to come to a resolution. This has been out there for a long time. I don't know if we'll have a resolution again tonight, George, because the attorney will have to get involved,
Right.
obviously. But I wanted to at least bring it to the board's attention. Questions, ideas, suggestions is how we can bring this to a resolution.
Now, they're planning on using the 4 spots behind the VFW to put up the storage shed then, George?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not an addition to the building? Because I thought that's what you mentioned before.
No, it would be an addition.
Okay.
It would just be a separate freestanding building there. Or a
Do
container.
we allow that? I guess, do we,
Well, that's something else that would have to be brought up, but that's allowed.
We have
At one time.
we have limitations on
Right.
size. You have to
Right.
get,
12, I believe, is.
Pardon?
10 by 12, I believe, is the maximum for a shed.
We brought this up once before, Moralski, one time, we brought it up at one time, about putting like a container out there, one of those shipping container type things out there, picking that up and putting one of those out there.
but again,
Right, again, there's.
I think those type of
Restrictions,
containers are
right.
allowed for 30
Right.
days, so we
So
would,
that's something we would have to work out with the board after, after we.
well, it would be what our zoning allows.
Right.
So any other ideas?
Not that long ago, George, you had asked to clear a spot behind the building to put your garbage dumpster, and Chief Kaufman accommodated you, and got the cars out of there, you got your dumps back behind the building.
Right.
Because the night bartender didn't want to have to walk all the way back to the back. So that's not a problem anymore, they're okay walking to the back.
We've already decided on what we can do on that. Either garbage there till the daylight hours, and then take it back to the
Alright, so
building.
you're right.
There enough room for the seized cars after that?
Depends how much he's carrying.
Hopefully not.
You have a revolving inventory of seized cars back there.
That may be a
Problem,
problem.
man.
Okay.
So I guess my,
Does that also leave room for, does this impact the space for the internet transaction space?
that was in my email too, because the camera, that was in my last email, Hal, was,
We're gonna make that work. I mean, that's gonna work one way or another, whatever I have to put.
Okay.
You know,
We have to have
I'll
a camera
figure that
involved.
out, you know, that's
Internet's
going
fixed.
in one way or another, that internet thing, we're doing that, you know, as far as I'm concerned. It's in, I think, trustee Massafield, you know, our discussion on it, and once you guys approve it, then boom. So we'll get that to work. I think we just, you know, as you know, we spoke, we just need to come to a head with this and.
right, and get a resolution.
You know, if we have to figure out what to seize cars and just start tightening everything up, you know, we'll get it done.
So, board, where do we go from here? Do I have the attorney try to draft something?
And make sure that it's compliant with zoning, or else you're gonna have to ask for special use.
Right. Well, whatever you would want to put up, you have to follow our zoning ordinance.
Oh, yeah, right, no, we understand that.
Is
So
it
this-
bigger than
Pardon?
that? Is that, the shed you want to build, is it bigger than our zoning ordinance?
I don't know what the exact size is that the zoning ordinance calls for.
10 by 12, which isn't very big.
It's bigger than that, isn't it?
Well, like 20 foot long by 8 foot wide at one time.
So, you're probably gonna need a variance.
Yes, it's 20 by, with the 4 spot size.
Are you looking for an actual land swap, or are you just looking for more parking spots? Can't we just, like the chief said, rearrange the cars and put some more spots? I mean, what are we looking to actually do, like?
A land swap, yes, an actual
Okay.
land swap, yes. Actually change the deeds, change the plat, change the, you know, where the pins are and everything else. I know at one time, way back when VFW went around there, all that land belonged to the VFW. With all the way back to the creek, then with the seized part is, we used to have it at one time, and we donated it to the village.
So,
They need more parking.
yeah, so do we. But do I ask the attorney to get involved now? Try to start working this out?
We need a drawing of the building first and have it approved by building department.
Okay.
It's a start.
Well,
No, that's too.
So that, so,
Well,
us, that would be
yeah,
two.
we have to be looked at first.
Yeah, I mean,
Or the swap?
Right, I would say we'd have to do the land first before you
Right.
figure out what a building might be.
okay. All right, just a couple updates. I want to thank everybody who attended the Midlothian Ring Ready Open House at the library on Saturday. It was a great event. MWRD, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, was out, and they provided 50 18-inch saplings, and all of them went, and they are willing to donate more. I'm thinking we could do them on cleanup day, distribution on cleanup day. Would that make sense?
Sure, we can add that to the,
Add that?
yeah.
They're very willing to deliver them. I'm sure they talk about having these saplings lovingly distributed. Joe Kratzer was out, the engineer on our Manley Creek flood mitigation project, and I thought it spoke volumes that they sent Joe Kratzer on Saturday afternoon. And I was able to speak with him in depth about the project again, and he did email me about the property acquisition that I'm working on with Brent Benson. And I gotta get him some more information. So the project is moving forward. It continues to move forward, but it was a great event. It was a great event. So I want to thank everybody who came out and participated in any way. Carl, you were there. And
Yeah, I also talked to Joe about another creek project, the one that runs through Midlothian Country Club. MWRD is looking to do some widening of the creek there, so that'll like cuts parts of Midlothian and unincorporated Cook County, and I guess it also affects a Bremer Township road as well. That they're gonna make modifications to so that the water flows better on that part. I guess they get a lot of overbanking that happens from the creek on the Midlothian side that overbanks into unincorporated Cook County. So they're gonna do an engineering study, I believe is what the first step for them.
he's very committed to Midlothian. The other thing, while we're on the theme of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, Helen Lakovich and I were invited by Commissioner Deborah Shore to the Oak Forest Rotary meeting yesterday at the Midlothian Country Club, where she was the speaker. And Commissioner Shore spoke about Chicago Flint and the water crisis of the 21st century. And Commissioner Deborah Shore is truly a friend to Midlothian. I think this spoke volumes that Helen and I received an invitation from her. We have her cell number. She's really engaged with Midlothian, and I think, Gary, you were down there when the board voted on the final design, and Peter, you were there, and she really, really has embraced Midlothian, and I think we're really thankful, I am personally, to have that kind of an advocate for Midlothian at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And I thanked her again yesterday and sent her an email last evening. So it was a nice event. We networked with a number of people. We always seem to end up at tables with people who can help us. And we may have some additional help on Tuesday. I'll keep you informed, okay?
Good.
And Veterans Committee met on Monday night, and we have a very committed group of individuals who are working very hard on the parade as well, and looking for other exciting opportunities for the veterans. So, George and Jean, thank you. And that's all I have this evening.
Trustee Ivan.
Let's start out with the yearly cell phone stipend for public works supervisors. I guess we've done it in the past. They're looking forward to continue in the future. Do we have to vote on that, or
It'll be on the list of bills.
just a list of bills?
They would have to, these would get submitted.
So then, assume there's no objection to it, then I could just have them.
We do it for 6 months.
Yeah, we do it every 6 months. We bill it, treasure. And then
Okay.
if I remember right, she said it to you guys. So it was a 6-month period at a time.
Okay. Then the next item is the annual pay increase for non-union management staff for public works of 2.5%. I guess, I believe it's in our union contract that they were getting a 2.5% increase.
No, that's board discretion.
Board discretion.
So, I mean, it's something we can talk about. We do need numbers to put in for all management staff and all departments for the budget.
Right.
So it's something the board, I have something in my.
Yeah, I figured that would probably come out of finance committee. I know you guys are meeting the first part of May. I figured the finance committee would be making recommendations as far as the non-union employee raises. Yeah, I just wondered also, are we giving up the idea of the merit-based raises that we've been talking about?
No, I think that's
So-
really important, why we've got to get the HR consultant in, because I think the last time raises were given, we pretty much said this, everything going forward was going to be performance-based, goal setting, and it's going to, a lot of it's going to be on, what's in the budget. We've got to.
So I should tell Joe then to put it in his budget and.
No, it's gonna, no, I think we have to look at the budget, make sure we have resources.
Trustee Moskowitz, it doesn't take a minute. Maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, so trustee Killy and I discussed this, because I inquired about this for the police department, non-union staff, 2 months ago maybe, or so. And I don't think we have veered from the thinking that it should be performance-based. There are 2 ways to look at it. One is to say, what does the budget look like, and then do we have money? But I actually think the right business decision is we should inform the budget what we plan to do and put it in there. So, I mean, I do think the board needs to talk about it and decide where we will land. The finance committee will make sure that whatever the board wishes to do gets included in the budget. Doesn't seem to be the right way to go about it, to just see what numbers roll up in the budget. And I think last year we gave some guidance to, there are certain things that department heads will need to budget that they don't know what to do. We used some assumptions for things like risk insurance and health insurance and benefits and other things like that. So I do think we need to provide some guidance as they begin to work on the budgets as to what we will give.
So what you're saying is the board should talk about what they think the raises could be, and then put those numbers into the budget, and that, the big thing is, from my perspective, the finance committee shouldn't make any decisions on any of that, should be the board.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be the board.
Well, I was saying you guys would make the recommendations.
Well, when we look at the numbers, we say, oh, something's wrong here, we better cut here or not, right? You're saying that?
Right.
Okay, fine.
I also believe we shouldn't balance the budget based on non-union employees either.
No.
We're doing it for union employees, and we should have the same course for non-union employees.
So what direction should I give Joe?
Basically, I think the board has to give us some directions first, as far as what numbers they want us to put into the budget. Then the finance committee can look at the budget and go yay or whoops, one way or the other. But before that, we expect to have a finance meeting on May 3rd, and we need to let Maggie have some numbers in the budget, so maybe an executive committee at the next board meeting would be appropriate to sort of discuss these. And then just put those numbers into the budget. Then what you're saying there is, at the finance committee meeting, and that's what Maggie's talking, let's look at the big numbers and see where we are, and see if we're good or if we have to make some adjustments.
Well, wait a minute, I was gonna ask this question. When you submit your budget, I know you guys were given your budgets, do you guys put in the salaries for
Here's
your?
what she had, this, the new system set up that she sent to me, I guess Steve probably same thing. 2,000, if you had any changes for some reason you feel you need to increase any part of the budget whatsoever, there's a separate column for that. So there's a column with salary as of now. So what I did, and obviously because police union is 3% on May 1st, so I had to figure that is as of now, and then I added 3% to that total salary. And then I just put the explanation on the back stating, per union contract, it's 3%, therefore this is what it's going to be. And then I also itemized separately the non-union employees who did the exact same thing. So there's kind of 2 numbers you'll see when you see that. Probably.
So they're already giving you guidance then.
So you'll have something.
You're already going to have some numbers.
You'll have 2 numbers. You'll have the number now, and then you'll have a number estimated 3%, for the union and non-union. That's how I did mine.
Yeah, ours is different because we're in negotiations, so I have to come up with some type of number to give you
Crystal ball.
from, it's gonna be different because guys are gonna get step raises. But I don't know what, we have to come up with some type of number, I have to have some kind of idea what to do.
You're putting in your budget what you believe.
But I believe it's going to be,
recommending.
I believe it's gonna be enough to cover it. So at least it'll will cover it. Unless you're gonna give us maybe a 6% raise. But,
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
that's what I'm projecting in my budget, I think I actually got it done. What projection should possibly be, all holiday pays, everything, all the stipends, everything together, what the numbers would be.
All right. The next thing I have is had the technology committee meeting, which went well. I had quite a few people show up. So I'm assuming the next steps to actually create the technology committee is to make appointments. And so some of the volunteers are listed in the agenda that volunteer for those positions. I'd like to at least get the chairman and the secretary I guess, appointed to make the committee official. And then the rest of the individuals would be just members. The other information that I have on there is more of like subcommittees that I was thinking the committee might go into, but that wouldn't be official until they've actually met and decided if that's how they wanted to set up the committee.
Typically, just so you know, trustee Ivan, typically, I as the mayor only appoint the chair people.
Okay.
I don't appoint anybody below any of that.
Okay, well then, that's what I wanted to make clear. So then I would like to make that one appointment, or request that appointment for Sandy being the committee chairman.
So in the interest of communication, you're going to communicate the minutes from the technology committee to the board before the technology committee takes any action?
The technology committee wouldn't take any action at all.
Just recommendation.
It's all
Okay,
recommendations.
all right, so, all right, fine.
Yeah. I mean, we may advocate those recommendations, but that would be probably the most involvement we would have. Then the beautification committee, I wanted to make sure, I noticed on the website when I was looking at the technical committee that we never put Barb, Doug's wife, as the chairman for the beautification committee.
When did that change?
Carol got elected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what happened.
yeah, exactly. So then, the next thing I want to talk about was the village cleanup day. We created some flyers that sent to everybody. Hopefully we'll probably spread them around town and stuff like that, post them on social media and things of that nature too. So then, they all reflect the new date as well of the 14th. And not listed on there was also the garden walk. We'll be creating a flyer for that as well, which was the July 10th, on a Sunday, between 11 and 4, which is the 5th annual garden walk. And after that, the Eagle Scout ceremony for Patrick Doran, I attempted that as well. It kind of caught me off guard because I thought I was being invited as a beautification member, kind of a friend kind of thing, but kind of announced as a dignitary, so it totally threw me off. I'd never been called a dignitary before in my life. So I do have the Eagle Scout commencement thing if anybody's interested in it. I also am a Eagle Scout, so it was quite interesting to see the process hasn't really changed that much in 40-some years. And Mo was there, and I guess he pretty much got the Eagle Scout at the same time as I did. So it was kind of interesting for a bunch of old Eagle Scouts to show up for the event. And, the trash cans. I don't know if everybody's seen the brilliantly blue trash cans. They're a little closer to the curb than I thought initially, but it's due to the arm from the garbage truck to reach them. If anybody
It
has,
seemed very close to the curb.
yeah, it made you a little nervous when you were driving by, didn't it?
I thought it was so you could like put stuff out your window as you go by.
Wait for training.
Like the old driveway mailbox.
I'm sure that with a little bit of time, they'll be pushed further back. I noticed the one in front of Cousins got moved closer to the, like 25 feet, or no, maybe about 15 feet, from its original location where they put it, which I thought was okay because it was right in front of his business in a parking spot that initially was put in. So if there's not any other recommendations about relocating the garbage can to a different location where it might have more effect in the amount of trash, I'm not aware of the flow of trash through the town.
Are they weighted on the bottom?
Yes, they're weighted on the bottom. I don't quite understand how when they dump them, how the top comes off. So I'll have to wait and actually see that. Or
A hinge.
so it'll pop off automatically then, just like
No,
that?
The hinge is open.
Okay.
Gravity and hinges and
Okay, because they have the,
weights and
It looked like a really tight fit, so I was surprised that gravity would work that well. All right. How we can record audio and video for our board meetings. I had the engineers that originally installed our original equipment in, and they informed me that the camera that was attached to it and the power supply were unattached and a new camera put in place that's connected to the police department. And for, I believe it was $355, we can install another camera that will work with our existing system and be placed basically in the same location next to the other camera that's there. And it will record both video and audio for us. And we'll have, it will be recorded on a digital recorder that's located behind that door.